every single solve from first to last means the world. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plus 3, the only podcast that features a very depressed Packers fan as the host. I'm Matt Rosman, joined by John Epley and Manu Singhal. All right, going straight in here. The fastest intro to a Plus 3 ever. All right, you know what we're going to talk about today, John? We're going to be talking about the WCA is going to be introducing head-to-head matchups similar to PSL in competition. I think this is a really exciting thing for cubing. John, let me start with you. How do you think this head-to-head development is going to impact cubing as a spectator sport in the WCA?
This is a massive, massive win for casual fans. That's what I'm thinking about the most. This is something I would have wanted to see when I was starting cubing, when I was competing, but also see the popularity of the Premier Speed Cubing League. People really love the head-to-head format. The WCA is great, but to make it a spectator sport, the format is maybe a little bit limiting. So this now gives an opportunity for the WCA to kind of highlight these top competitors on a one-to-one level. It's also really cool that it's simultaneous start, just something new, a new format that we haven't seen at PSL. I think PSL does have it open where they might change that in the future and they can do simultaneous start, but really cool to see the WCA just finally implementing something. To me, I don't even care about the details of single elimination, double elimination. Let's just kind of get the ball rolling, right? And so the casual fan is who's going to win. It's the person that just wants to watch some solves on the weekends, wants to just every once in a while tune in and see what's going on. This is what they want to see, and I'm so excited that it's here and it's WCA official.
And yeah, as one of the team members who actually worked on this is part of the thing that WMCT, my team, is actually supposed to be doing. I'm pretty happy to see that this finally is made public. We've been working on it because we thought that the community would be interested in it, and there's some pretty good responses so far. The part of the reason I wanted to work on it was because I thought that this was going to be a huge step forward for the WCA, and it really brings the WCA more in line with a lot of other sports that you see. More sports are more head-to-head than you might think. Even like chess, for example, is really like, there's a winner and there's a loser at the end of the day. The question was kind of putting it together to how does it make sense in like a speed cubing context, and putting it together where it's like a bracket, so it's actually like a true head-to-head as opposed to what we currently have, which of course is exciting. But it's like, this is a little bit different. It's a bit more singles based, and we hope that that's going to be the spectators, as they see it, is going to make a lot more sense to them. There are a couple nuances with like simultaneous solving, single elimination, double elimination, and then how it fits into the main part of the WCA rounds. And for that stuff, you can check out the regulations kind of explainer document that the WRC put together. But overall, I think it's very, very exciting.
And Manu, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think that this is really going to help legitimize cubing as a sport proper. Look, the visual aesthetics of it are going to be a lot more intentional. They're going to create a lot more storylines. There's a lot more emotion in it. When you have the competitions that you have right now, where there's not that same level where you're just trying to hunt down like, okay, who's solving here? For a spectator, for a viewer, they want to see the best of the best, and they want to see them directly pitted against one another, because that means that every single solve from first to last means the world. I think that that's going to be a huge development. I think people are going to really start taking cubing seriously. And I think just among cubers as well, it's going to inspire, a much greater degree of competitiveness, because now you have a lot more time to think about it. I don't know if it's going to have the same kind of dramatic flair that some stuff in the PSL has, but I think that in terms of making cubing appear as a sport to people who might have questions about it, I think this is a great move.
Yeah, I'm thinking of all the possibilities because I'm not a big golf fan, but to my understanding, golf is a bit like cubing, where generally most tournaments are a bit individual. Everyone performs individually, and at the end of the day, you look at the results and you see who won. But right now, a big event happening in golf is the Ryder Cup. They're taking teams from Europe, and against America, and they're pitted against each other one-on-one. You verse the opponent from the other country, and the winner gets a point, and then at the end they see who has 14 and a half points to win the Ryder Cup. Think of all the opportunities we have. Nations Cup is cool, but think about how we can expand it out now. Instead of it just being a 3-on-3 format, maybe now we can have 12 Americans against 12 Chinese cubers, for example. And we can just watch our country get dominated. But it just opens up a lot of really cool formats. And I can't wait to see what the unique community comes up with to do with it.
Yeah, the other thing I want to mention is like the format is kind of baked into the WCA in some extent, but it's not like you're going to see it everywhere. So you're not going to see these head-to-head finals showing up at your local competitions, and you can kind of imagine why, right? You take a look at the World's Finals, that entire video, right, is like 2 hours long. And that's just not feasible to happen at most competitions. However, where you do intend for this to be used is like a continental championship or the world championship. And in those cases, it would probably only really replace the final round, where that's where all the stakes are in the first place. There's also some cool stuff involving like seeding, where you could use it as a first round if there's only one round. So, for example, kind of like what they're doing with and U.S. All-Stars this year, if you only had the one round, then you can also seed people into that round based on certain qualification times, and those qualification times are like up for debate. You could do it based on like PR all time as we currently do, or you could potentially even see a system where that gets tweaked. So you're absolutely right about that, Eppley. I think that there's a lot of room for this to improve, and I think the WCA is also looking to kind of try things out, and then from there we'll kind of make tweaks as it goes forward.
Hey guys, I'm Dylan Miller. I'm a 3x3 Worlds finalist and a top 5 solver in the US. If you want to get coached by me, go to solvewithdylan.com. Doesn't matter your speed, that's solvewithdylan.com. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and speaking of PSL and WCA, I think now that the WCA, we know we're going to have head-to-head stuff. I want to start with you, John. Where do you think, given what's happened now, the first sub-3 single is going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen in the WCA or in PSL?
This was a tough one. When this question first came up, it was really fun to kind of sit down and chew through it. I think I'm going to have to pick the WCA, and I'm going to put timeline on it. I think it's going to be at the latest the end of NAC 2026. It could happen by the time this episode is released with the pace some of these kids are going. But, the PSL, it seems like we are seeing insane singles. People like Dylan Miller, I think he's got a faster single in PSL than WCA, and he's done probably hundreds of more solves in the WCA than he has PSL. So we do see people shine, but even with people shining and getting incredible solves, I mean, a sub-3 is just insanity. I mean, you'd have to get it, let's say, a 44 move solve and have a 15 TPS, and both of the 15 TPS is incredible, and getting a solve of 44 turns plus picking up and setting down the cube. It's just, it's a logistical nightmare to get a sub-3 in my opinion. So I think just the fact that PSL is kind of restricted to top solvers, but fewer competitions in just the North American region. I think it's going to be one of these top Chinese solvers that come through, or just the fact that WC has so many more competitions. It's just as a numbers game, we have much more opportunity there, but who knows? Kyle Santucci could clutch through, and we could see it coming up in a couple weekends here.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the WCA on this one. And for the point that John mentioned, they were right at the end. I think it's simply a scale thing, right? Like if you imagine to see like where these types of head-to-head competitions are going to happen, we're going to have some in North America and Europe, South America, Australia, whatever, right? You're just going to get it more and more exposure, which means that there are going to be more people who are going to be able to participate in the head-to-head. Then the second most key factor is the number of scrambles. You want the top solvers to see as many scrambles as possible in order to get the chance at getting a really, really good set of scrambles, or in this case, a good singles. And if you're Yiheng, right, you get a lot of solves in China or whatever, but once you step into a head-to-head, you get maybe like 25 solves or something ridiculous like that in just one match if you're really going to go all the full distance to it. So I think it's going to be the WCA by quite a long shot, although the PSL does have some advantage in terms of getting started earlier. So who knows, maybe we'll see it happen there. I don't really care where it happens, to be honest. I just want to see it, and in the any type of official or semi-official format is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I got to agree with you guys. I think it's going to be in the WCA. I think there are just a lot more opportunities that aren't necessarily as high stakes in the WCA for a sub 3 single to happen. Look, with PSL, now we all love PSL here, but every event means a lot. There are bags on the line. So there's that additional element of pressure going into it. If you have one of these top level solvers, Timon or Yihang, whoever, at a small event, like for that sub 3 second average is not going to be, you know, as filled with pressure to get to. If you're in the PSL where there's only like, one event every month or so, there's a lot more riding on each event, and there's a lot more riding on someone's performance in the PSL. So I think the pressure's there in terms of every single event. I think that's just going to stop it from happening in the PSL quicker than it would in the WCA.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think that it is like pretty cool to see that people have sometimes better performances in the PSL than WCA. I think it was also Sebastian Stone was just popping off. And I'm sure there's other names I'm forgetting where, again, you only get so many solves in a day at WCA, and it's maybe just not the environment some people thrive on. If you are a fan of energy, then you're going to be a fan of a PSL environment. You have that crowd in front of you, all eyes are on you. A lot of times in WCA, you're kind of one of many, a part of this big process for everybody to get through their solves, and unless it's a major competition. So it's just another environment. So I hope we're wrong. I hope all of us are wrong. I hope someone takes this receipt and says, "These fools, look what I did." I hope it's Dylan. Dylan would be the most likely to spite us with receipts like that.
Yeah, and it actually does seem reasonable that maybe PSL will ultimately beat the WCA to it. The other thing is, like, the only rounds that are going to get replaced with these head-to-head format is a final. And everything other than that is still going to be like in your average of 5. And competitors, I think right now are kind of tuned towards, okay, well, I want to get a good average of 5, not necessarily I want to get the best singles. So that's part of what also makes like a WCA head-to-head interesting, is like now competitors have to kind of shift their thinking towards, well, it doesn't really matter if I was on BPA because I just want to get the best single. And maybe that means
how these are going to? Do you know how these are going to be recorded for results? Are they going to be a bunch of singles? It looks like you can't get an average for this, but do you know how if the results are going to live in the similar format they are now, or maybe a separate format? Are you aware?
Yeah, so I'm not the part of the team that handles like the results format, like kind of like the database and stuff. But yes, you are correct. Singles will be available to like update your PR single. You can do that in a head-to-head round. We theorizing the way that it'll be is that it's just the same as a typical scorecard. You would just write down the single, and then in this case, you also add whether or not you won or lost the point.
Awesome. I'm excited to see it play out.
I'm excited to see it play out as well. All right, highlight of the week. Teodor hitting the WR5 average. Just absolutely insane stuff. Manu, break this down, and then I want to hear from you guys. Where's Teodor ranking in the EU rank of cubers now? Is he the definitive number 2?
Yeah, so this is actually footage from a 417 that he had, I think, a couple of weeks ago. So I don't actually have the full numbers on 469. I'll talk about this though. Like, this is a really, really interesting solution. It's kind of like free floppy almost. He kind of builds like 3 parts of F2L, then inserts the last cross edge, and then it's really strange. He had like OL with like no edges oriented and still manages to get a ridiculous 417, as you can see right there. So it's just absolutely crazy. Teodor, I think over the last, I would say over the last year, really has really, really, really put himself on the world stage. I would say before that, he was kind of more isolated to like Europe, Poland. People like knew him obviously a lot there. And of course, he has 2x2 WR single. That's a big way to get your name out there as well. But he's really, really, really erupted to get the WR5 average now. I think that pushes US down to I think number 6, maybe even lower now. Yeah, I think 486 is still the NAR. So just amazing stuff from Teodor.
Yeah, no, I thought the coolest part to this average for me was, so you have a 469 average. What do those times look like? Well, of course, you start with a 786. And then he gets a 4-6, 4-7-4, 4-7, 4-6-3. So his next 4 solves, they vary by 0.14. It's just nuts. I mean, he got one bad time. He said, you know what? Let me just get a PR. And then in the next round in finals, his BPA, I believe, was a 4.83, which at the time, if he had not gotten his PB in the last round, that would have been his PB. So he's consistently pulling towards these lower times. This wasn't just a fluke average. So, I mean, just another person to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing stuff. Really, like, the Teodor stock is rising, people. Y'all got to buy in. I got one more highlight for y'all. Not Oramaxing Teodor here, but just recently, our own Manu Singal with a PR, a sub 11 PR, and Manu, who did you consult with to get this PR here?
Yeah, so this is after one session talking to Dilly Millie, some really, really good stuff. I think that this is a little bit ridiculous even for me, but it's definitely true. I've broken, I think, everything except for PR single after chatting with Dilly. So glad I was able to get a really, really, really good result. I think this is going to stand for a while.
Yeah, I mean, for context, Amu had an 11.94 average before this, and that included a 20.22. This is a 10.91, and they were 5 really solid solves. Worst solve was an 11.15. So, I mean, less than a 0.6 variance between all 5 solves, which is pretty incredible because all 5 of those solves are significantly faster than your previous PR average. So,
yeah,
I don't know what was in the juice that day for second round, but I want some of that.
Yeah, don't look at round 1 results then. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll be as good as Shwani.
Oh my god! Not this, bro. This is
that's gonna be me.
We made the play.
Wait. What is this? What is this graphic?
Oh my!
Yes, dude, how exciting!
Oh my god! This
gets you thinking.
This is massive. It certainly gets me thinking. It gets me thinking about us dropping the division and that. Yeah. Shout out the Detroit Tigers doing something that's never been done in Major League history. 15.5 game lead blown. I'm sad. John is presumably sad. But you know what? We're gonna win the playoffs because we got Juan Yi on our side. And we can't lose. We can't lose with Juan Yi on our side. All right. Anyway, enough of me yapping. Gentlemen, do you have anything else you want to say to wrap up this, this cluster of an episode?
Watch PSL Seattle live on SpeedcubingTv,
yeah.
October 12th. I'm going to be there. I'm really excited to see. I've never been live at a PSL. I've only watched them. One time I got to moderate chat, but other than that, I've always been a fan of it. This is my first time being a fan watching it live. So it'll be really cool. Seattle's got a lot of cool people. I get to hang out with my friends there. I hope I get to see Blake. But we'll see. That's all I got.
I want to go to Seattle, man. I'm gonna be stuck in my basement having to do graphics for PSL again.
Huge.
As per usual. Well, anyway, I think that concludes this week's episode of Plus 3. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us, what do you think about the WCA just introducing head-to-head stuff in general? Let us know in the comments section. Feel free to subscribe. Watch PSL Seattle. What else can I advertise? Get coached by Dylan Miller, because if it can make Manu better by 1 second after one session. Anyway, that's all we have for Plus 3. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.